coming to the topic. So the subject is virology and mycology, and the subject code is BMLT5001. And currently now we are in the unit 4. So from today onwards, we are starting unit 4. Unit 4 is all about RNA viruses. So all RNA viruses are included in the unit 4. Okay. So if you see the syllabus in the unit 4, we have poliomyelitis, polio, rhinoviruses, influenza virus, rabies, arboviruses, measles, mumps, rubella, and HIV. So these viruses we need to study. So the following viruses are included in the RNA viruses. They include polio, rhino, influenza, rabies, arbo, measles, mumps, rubella, and HIV viruses. Okay. So in the third unit, we already discussed the basics in virology. So all these basics are very essential for studying individual viruses. Okay. So today I will summarize on how to study individual viruses. What are the protocol that we need to follow to study individual viruses? That I will discuss in today's lecture, and I will start introduction of poliomyelitis today. So in the last lecture, we have discussed about detection of viruses in the culture media. So these viruses can be detected by cytopathic cathets, inclusion bodies, by heme absorption interference, transformation, or immunofluorescence test. So this you already know. Okay, so I'm just skipping this part of the lecture because you already know all of this. Then we discussed about viral pathogenesis. So viral pathogenesis, we have route of entry. Route of entry can be virus can enter through respiratory tract, elementary, genital, skin, or conjunctiva. Then it will replicate there and it will gain access into the nearby lymph nodes, and it will replicate in the lymph nodes, and it will start entering into the blood. Once the virus entering into the blood, this particular stage is called primary viremia. Then through primary viremia or through blood, the virus will go to the central foci. So here the central foci will be spleen, bone marrow, and liver. After migration of the virus to spleen, bone marrow, or liver, the virus will again replicate within the central foci, and it will again release into the blood after second time. So this second release of virus into the blood is called secondary viremia. After secondary viremia, the virus will go to the target organ and it will cause distinctive lesions. So the viral specific diseases will be seen in the target region of the virus. Okay, so this is the basic pathogenesis of any viruses. Okay, so route of entry, nearby lymph nodes, spreading into nearby lymph nodes, then entering into blood, primary viremia, then going to central foci, spleen, bone marrow, liver, then again entering into blood, called secondary viremia. After secondary viremia, virus will go to the target organ and it will cause the infection. So this is basic pathogenesis of virus. Then, okay, this is all about this. Then coming to the unit 4. So in the unit 4, we have the first virus is poliovirus. So today we will discuss in detail about poliovirus. Okay. So is everyone listening, students? Are you paying attention? Are you following my lecture?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So today we will discuss about poliovirus. I hope it is recording. Okay. Sorry. So coming to the poliovirus. So I don't know whether you are understanding this concept or not. So poliomyelitis means myelitis. I'm explaining the name called myelitis. Myelitis means first you need to understand the structure of neuron. So poliovirus will cause paralysis in the patients. Okay, if the poliovirus infects any patients means they will get usually lower limb paralysis. The reason for this lower limb paralysis is this virus will particularly attacks the spinal cord of the affected human. Okay, it will attack the spinal cord, and in the spinal cord we have two regions: interior brown region and exterior white region. What is this white region and brown region? To understand this white or brown region, you should know the basic structure of a neuron. So if you see the basic structure of neuron, I will draw here. I will draw the structure of neuron. See here. Okay, so this will be the neuron head. So this is neuron head. Okay, then it has a neck. This is neuron neck, and neuron will have axon. Like this, it will have an axon. So after axon, I'm just bending the axon here. Then after the end of the axon, it will have the dendrites like this. So this is a basic structure of a neuron. Okay, then this head will have similar connections, synaptic connections like this. Okay, so this is how a neuron looks like. Now, Here we have soma, it is the head of the neuron. Then we have neck of the neuron. Then this is called axon. On this axon, if you see on the outside, actually axon will have like this. Okay, in between you will have nodes of Ranvier. So I didn't show nodes here. Anyway, on the outer layer of this axon, it will have a layer of myelin sheet. This we studied previously. This neuron will have a protective or insulating cover called myelin sheet. The purpose of this myelin sheet is it won't allow the electrical signals to short circuit. So it will contain the electrical signals within the neuron. So this myelin sheet will act like an insulator, just like the way we have plastic coating on the surface of a electric wire. Similarly, our neurons was covered by this particular layer called myelin sheet. And who is producing this myelin sheet? This myelin sheet is produced by Schwann cell. This we already studied in the first year actually. In the physiology, we studied about the structure of neuron. Now, in the polio infection, this polio virus will destroy this myelin sheet of the neuron. If this myelin sheet was destroyed, the corresponding neuron electrical activity will be short circuited and the corresponding neurons will get damaged. Neuron damage happens because of destruction of this myelin sheet. So the polio virus will destroy this myelin sheet, resulting in formation of inflammation within the myelin sheet of the spinal cord. So in the spinal cord, we have this white region. So that white region is made up of myelin sheet of neurons. So this polio virus will cause inflammation to the myelin sheet of the neuron. That is why the disease caused by polio virus is called as poliomyelitis. Why it is called poliomyelitis? Because polio means it is the virus name and myelitis, myelin sheet, itis, inflammation. Poliovirus mediated myelin sheet inflammation. That is why this disease is called poliomyelitis. This is the meaning of poliomyelitis. So here the virus will attack the myelin sheet of the neuron, resulting in inflammation of the myelin sheet of neuron, called as poliomyelitis. That ultimately results in permanent paralysis to the patients. The patient will undergo permanent paralysis. Their lower limbs will be permanently paralyzed. They cannot move hereafter for their entire life. Once if you get polio infection means game over. Your lower limbs will be paralyzed for your entire life. Polio virus not only it not only causes lower limb paralysis. In the latent stage of the infection, this polio virus will start destroying the other neurons of our body also. It will start spreading into the body. If this polio virus started spreading into the respiratory nerves, the thoracic nerves, then patient cannot respirate, he cannot breathe. These particular nerves are called Fenric nerves. In the second stage of the poliovirus infection, this poliovirus will start spreading into the Fenric nerves. Fenric nerves means these are the nerves that are supplying to your rib cage, that are supplying to your lungs. Now, once the virus attacking the Fenric nerves or the thoracic nerves, patient cannot breathe by himself. So he need to keep under a mechanical ventilation to sustain the patient's life. So this will be the second stage of poliovirus infection. Completed, sir. Congrats. Okay. So after that, in the third stage, poliovirus will migrate to the brain and the patient will go to the coma and he will die. So this is how the poliovirus pathogenesis looks like. So the primary target of poliovirus will be spinal cord, especially it will attack the white region of the spinal cord. That means the myelin sheet of the spinal cord, resulting in inflammation of the spinal cord. That is why the disease caused by poliovirus is called poliomyelitis. Now, as per the sakes of names, you can't understand the lethal consequences of this virus. Now I will show you the pictures of the patients who are affected by the poliovirus infection. Now I will show you how deadly the poliovirus is. Is everyone listening, students? Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us see the infection, patients infected by poliovirus. So there are few pictures in the online which are very sensitive, and you will feel really sad about these pictures by seeing these pictures. So here you can see small children affected by poliovirus, and all of these children cannot walk by themselves. They need aids. They need a support of these sticks for their movement. So they haven't done any wrong. So they just acquired infection when they are small babies, and their lower limbs has been permanently paralyzed until their death. Maybe they can live up to 70 to 80, even 100 years. So rest of their life, they need to survive with this condition. There is no other option for these people, these children. So their beautiful future has been half destroyed by the virus actually. So just imagine how much deadly is this virus. So it will cause permanent nerve paralysis. So there is no treatment for polio paralysis. There is no treatment for any neurological disorders actually. We cannot repair any neurons in the body. That is highly challenging task. So once the nerve paralyzed means we can't do anything. So these are the few children which are affected by polio. So there are few more pictures. So these are the pictures taken during a polio epidemic in the European countries. So here, all the patients who are seeing in this picture, they got second stage of polio. That means for first 20 years, their lower limb has been paralyzed. Then after 20 years, the virus started attacking their respiratory nerves, resulting in respiratory arrest. These patients cannot breathe by themselves. So that is why these patients are kept in a ventilator. These ventilators are called mechanical ventilators. That means these ventilators will compress their chest cavity to breathe. So without this machine, they cannot breathe. So this machine will do the task of breathing. Okay. So until their death, they need to be supported by these machines for their survival. This is the second stage of poliovirus infection. Even at this stage, if we are not treating patients, the poliovirus will go to the brain and it will cause coma to the patient. So this is the condition once the polio enters into its second stage. And the, the cost and maintaining these mechanical ventilators is very challenging. We need to ensure that this ventilators having 24 hours power supply, and then we need to have one particular person to observe all these patients. If there is no person to observe means any complications can happen to them. And it is highly costly affair to maintain these mechanical ventilators. So this is not possible in poverty countries or developing countries such as India. So in India, if you get second stage of poliovirus, we need to we can say goodbye. Okay, so that will be the final call of the patient. Very sad to say, but as a developing nations, it will be a challenging task to sustain a patient's life under these machines for a long period of time because of the financial status of the patients, because of the economical status of the country. So there are many factors that need to be included, considered to give a proper medical support to the polio patients. Really challenging. So these are the consequences of poliovirus infection. So here you can see all the people are kept in a mechanical by poliovirus. So this just born baby was infected by poliovirus, and this baby is in a ventilator. So, he or she, it don't know what sin it did, but it need to be supported by this ventilator for the rest of its life. So very heart melting pictures of a poliovirus infection. Can you see the PPT, students? Are you listening me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I got some technical problem. Can you hear me, students? I'm sorry for the disturbances. Have you seen this picture? Are you listening me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes.
have you heard about this baby? Do did you follow me regarding this picture? Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
this is just born baby with poliovirus infection, and this baby need to be supported by this mechanical ventilator for the rest of its life for its survival. So this is the conditions of polio if you got infected by poliovirus infection. Okay, so then let us come to the point. Let us see the actual notes of the poliovirus infection. So you got some idea, right? Polio will cause paralysis. Usually it will cause lower limb paralysis. Then it will go to the second stage where it will cause respiratory arrest, and it may even cause coma to the patients. So this is how the poliovirus infects the patients. Okay, so let us see the complete details about this poliovirus. So
Excuse
now
me, sir.
this slide is yes. Yes, Simon. Hmm. Yes, tell me.
Yes, sir. Why is it a polio affected children more than adults? Why?
Because children have comparatively less immunity compared to the adults. That is the primary reason. Children are more prone to the virus because of their immune immune activities. Okay, so that is why it's just because of immune problems. Children are comparatively less immunized. When I say children, I'm not discussing about after 2 years. I'm discussing about children who are just born babies. So just born babies are highly susceptible for polio or any viral infections. And if it is polio, then it will cause permanent damage to the neurons. That is the main thing. Immunity. Okay. Age-related immunological problems. Then now everyone please take a screenshot of this picture of this slide. Everyone should take this screenshot of this slide. Okay. Now, no matter whatever virus we are studying, no matter whatever virus hereafter, it can be either RNA or DNA viruses. For each and every virus, we must satisfy these 10 points. For each and every virus, we must satisfy these 10 points. So if you are satisfying these 10 points for any virus, then it will be completed. Then you are giving a complete picture of that virus. So the things that we need to include for every virus is first you will write introduction to the virus. Say for example, introduction to polio. Then you will classify the virus. Classification means you need to tell whether it is a DNA virus or RNA virus. Okay. So you need to give the classification and taxonomical classification of virus. Then you should explain its morphology. In the morphology, you should write its size, shape, symmetry, how many capsomers the virus has, what type of genome it is, whether the virus has envelope or not, if it has any envelope or if the virus has any viral specific proteins. So these points you need to write under the morphology. Size of the virus, shape of the virus, symmetry, is it helical, icosahedral, and capsomers, number of capsomers of the virus, and genome, is it a DNA virus or RNA virus, and whether the virus has envelope or not, and is there any special proteins to the virus. So these things you need to write under morphology. Then you need to write its susceptibility and resistance. What agents will kill the virus and what agents does the virus is resistant to? So you need to write the susceptibility and resistance of the virus. Then you should write how to isolate this virus and how to cultivate the virus. So in the isolation and cultivation, you need to write how you will do animal inoculation, how you will do tissue culture, and how you will do cell culture. So these things you need to write in the isolation and cultivation. Then you should explain its pathogenesis. In the pathogenesis, you need to write its modes of transmission and incubation period. These are important points. How the virus is transmitted to the patient and what is the incubation period of the virus. This you need to write in the pathogenesis. Then you should write signs and symptoms and complications shown by the virus in the patient. What are the signs and what are the symptoms and what are the complications shown by the virus in the patient? These things you need to write. Then you should write laboratory diagnosis of the virus. In the laboratory diagnosis, you must write sample collection from ante-mortem and post-mortem. Antemortem means collection of sample from a living patient, and postmortem means collection of sample from a dead patient. Okay, why we are collecting samples from dead patient means we need to know the reason why the patient dead. For understanding the cause of death of the patient, in such cases we can take postmortem samples. Okay, so in the lab diagnosis you will write a sample collection, then transport of sample, direct microscopic techniques. In the direct microscopy you can write a immunofluorescence or any test. Okay, then what are the how to culture and how to isolate the virus, what culture media you can use to isolate the virus, then what cytopathic effect shown by the virus, for example what cytopathic effect shown by poliovirus, and what inclusion bodies shown by the poliovirus, how to detect poliovirus in immunofluorescence test, how to detect in molecular test, how to detect antigens of the poliovirus, and how to detect viral specific antibodies in the patient. So all these things we'll study in under the laboratory diagnosis. So in the lab diagnosis, you will write sample collection, transport, direct microscopy, isolation, detection of cytopathic effects, inclusion bodies, immunofluorescence test, molecular test, antigen detection test, and antibodies present in the patient. These things you will write in the lab diagnosis. Then coming to the prophylaxis. Prophylaxis means prevention before getting the infection is called prophylaxis. That means simply vaccination. What type of vaccines you can give to the virus, this virus infection? What type of active immunization things you can give to the poliovirus infection? And what type of passive immunization protocols you can implement to treat a poliovirus infection. So you can write both active immunization and passive immunization, and you need to write the treatment of the virus. What type of drugs are available to treat this particular virus? So if you are satisfying these 10 points, then it will be a complete virus overview. No matter whatever virus it is, you need to write these 10 points. So from today onwards, this slide should be your handheld slide. Everyone must memorize this slide. So I have given a short notation. So you need to write these 10 points. Those include introduction, classification, morphology, then susceptibility and resistance, culturing, pathogenesis, signs and symptoms, lab diagnosis, prophylaxis, and treatment. No matter whatever virus, we need to satisfy these 10 points, starting with introduction, classification, morphology, susceptibility and resistance, culturing, pathogenesis, signs, lab diagnosis, prophylaxis, and treatment. Is it clear for everyone, students?
Yes, sir. But I have questions, sir.
Yes, Simon.
Sir, in terms of sample collection, what type of sample can be used for collection for detection of the polio?
In terms of
Sample collection, what types of sample can be used for detection of the polio?
in some population, you are saying, Simon, population or
Sir, he's
pox
asking
infection.
about the sample we collect for polio. How we
Okay,
will
what type of
check?
Yeah, what type of sample collection we can take that we can understand after seeing its pathogenesis. First, we need to understand how the virus entering into the body and how the virus is migrating within the body. Say, for example, if we know that the virus is entering through respiratory tract, then we can collect the respiratory samples. If the virus is entering through oral tract, then we can take saliva or some gastrointestinal secretions. So the type of sample we are collecting depends upon the pathogenesis. So when we are studying individual virus, then you will understand what samples we need to collect. Okay, that I will tell in the next slide. Okay, so types of samples I will tell later. So to this slide, it is clear for everyone, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you can listen. Next, I will tell that. That will be my next step. So these 10 points are clear for everyone, right? So can anyone say without seeing this? So first, very basic students. First, we will write introduction, then its classification, then virus morphology. In the morphology, you must tell the size, shape, symmetry, capsomus, genome, envelope, and special proteins of the virus. Then you need to write susceptibility and resistance of the virus, then isolation and cultivation, pathogenesis, signs and symptoms, lab diagnosis, prophylaxis, and treatment. So these 10 points, I don't know how you will memorize, but you must memorize these 10 points. If you know these 10 side headings, then you can write something for the virus. Okay, if not, it will be really challenging. You will get confused on what to write when we are asking a question in the exams. So you need to standardize these 10 side headings for any virus. Okay. So try to work on this particular slide. Not working out, you must memorize it. There's no other option for you. I'm trying my level best to simplify virology. So I'm trying my level best to make you understand the subject. Usually virology is toughest subject to teach, but I tried the best possible ways to make it simply. I tried my level best. Okay. So don't feel I'm giving you extra information. Actually, I have reduced so much amount of data to make it easy. Even if you're feeling this is tough, then definitely it is your laziness only. So be serious in your academics, okay? As I always says. So coming with the polio virus. So introduction to the polio virus. So hereafter in all my slides, you can see at any one corner, you can see the 10 points. So in the 10 points, now we are in the introduction of polio virus. Okay. So introduction to polio. So polio is a highly infectious viral disease. Usually it will affect young children, and it is a fecal-oral route virus infection. That means this polio virus we will acquire by eating food. So by eating food, we will get this polio virus infection. Okay. So by eating contaminated food, we will get this polio virus infection, and it will first it will replicate in the intestine. So first virus will go to the intestine. From intestine, the virus will go to the target site, which is spinal cord. Okay. And this results in formation of inflammation to the spinal cord, resulting in poliomyelitis. Okay. So this is the basic introduction. So poliovirus is it's a highly infectious, and it will be transmitted through food, contaminated food, and it usually affects the young childrens. And also, I think I didn't given here the meaning of poliomyelitis. So poliomyelitis means inflammation to the spinal cord. Then coming to the classification of poliovirus. So my second point will be classification of poliovirus. How does the poliovirus is classified, taxonomically speaking? Now, this classification will be somewhat challenging for you students, but you must get ready for classifications. We have plenty of classifications in virology. Okay. Usually, our poliovirus belongs to a family called Picornaviridae. Our poliovirus belongs to the family Picornaviridae. When I say Picornaviridae, do you remember the morphology of picornavirus? Do you remember, students? Is it RNA or DNA virus? Picorna. Picorna is a RNA virus, and it is a naked icosahedral virus particle. It is a naked icosahedral virus particle. And picoRNA or picorna viruses are the one of the smallest viruses. The size of these viruses will be around 20 nanometers. That is the size of picorna viruses. Okay. Now, this picorna family, this Picornaviridae was further divided into 5 classes. There are 5 classes of picorna viruses. We have enteroviruses, we have paracoviruses, we have hepatoviruses, we have apathoviruses, and cardioviruses. Okay. So these picorna viruses are further, we have 5 classes that include entero, paraco, hepato, apatho, and cardioviruses. Enteroviruses means these are the viruses that will enter through intestine. The viruses that will enter into our body via intestinal route. Such viruses are included in enteroviruses. Then paracoviruses means these paracoviruses will cause infant death. Just born babies will die due to some viruses. Such viruses are called paracoviruses. Paracoviruses will cause infant death. Then there are viruses called hepatoviruses. These hepatoviruses will cause the liver infection. Okay. So among this hepatovirus, hepatitis A is a picornavirus. Keep in mind, hepatitis A is a picornavirus, which is a RNA virus, whereas hepatitis B is a DNA virus. It belongs to another family, actually. Hepatitis B belongs to another family. whereas hepatitis A is a RNA virus which belongs to the family Picornaviridae. Then we have apathoviruses that will cause foot and mouth disease, and we have cardioviruses that will cause heart infection, especially in the mice. So we have 5 classes of Picornaviridae that include enteroviruses, paraco, hepato, apatho, and cardio. In the hepatoviruses, we have hepatitis A, which is a RNA virus. Okay, RNA virus. Hepatitis A is a RNA virus, whereas hepatitis B is a DNA virus. Then these enteroviruses are further divided into 4 classes, 4 subclasses. We have enterovirus A, B, C, and D. Okay, enterovirus A are Coxsackie viruses. Enterovirus B are some para-echoviruses. Then enterovirus C, we have poliovirus. So poliovirus belongs to enterovirus C. Okay, and we have enterovirus D. In the enterovirus D, we have rhinoviruses. So rhinoviruses are one of the common viruses that will cause common cold. Usually you will get cold in the winter season, right? That cold is occurred because of these rhinoviruses, and rhinoviruses belongs to enterovirus D, to the genus enterovirus, to the family Picornaviridae. So if I'm asking you what is poliovirus, you should tell its classification. Poliovirus is a RNA virus belonging to the family Picornaviridae, to the genus enterovirus, to the subclass of enterovirus C. So poliovirus is a belongs to enterovirus C, enterovirus of Picornaviridae. You must write like that. If I say what is rhinovirus, then you should tell rhinovirus belongs to the family Picornaviridae, to the genus enterovirus, to the subclass of enterovirus D. Now, that means all these viruses, all these enteroviruses can contaminate the society, or they will enter into our body by food, and they will exit our body by fecal material. That means these viruses can able to contaminate the society. So if you are going for open defecation, say for example, we have a polio patient, and this polio patient going open defecation in a near in a side of river. So he is going to a stool on the river side. So this stool was dissolved in the nearby water, and this water will be drink by someone. So if someone drink this water, there is a high chance of getting this poliovirus infection into the second person, because now the person taking poliovirus contaminated water. Now this virus will enter into the stomach, and it will go to his spinal cord, and it will cause the infection. Unfortunately, if a pregnant woman drinking this poliovirus infected contaminated water, there is a high chance of getting polio to the babies. Adults are comparatively resistant to poliovirus, but children are highly susceptible to poliovirus infection. Children will get easy infection because of their weakened immunity. So that is why we need to know the viral classification. By seeing the classification itself, we can able to understand where does the virus placed in the, where does the virus has been classified. Either it is a liver virus or it is a enterovirus. If it is an enterovirus, it is an enterovirus C type. So poliovirus is a enterovirus C. So is this classification clear for everyone? Poliovirus belongs to the family Picornaviridae, to the genus enterovirus, to the subclass of enterovirus C. Whereas rhinovirus belongs to enterovirus D. So this is the classification of poliovirus. Is it clear for everyone, students? Then, yeah. Are you listening?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
The actual virology started. Hereafter classes will be somewhat tough. Okay, so you must be in flow with me. Okay, if not, it will be a tough subject. I'm agreeing for virology is a tough subject, but you should follow me. You should write notes. Okay, then only you can understand the concepts. Fine. So coming to the, so first we discussed about introduction to polio. Then we discussed about classification of poliovirus. Then let us see the morphology of poliovirus. Okay, see, in the textbook they have given classification like this, but this will be tough for you to understand. So I have breakdown classification like this. Okay, so whatever I'm giving, I have simplified for you. Then coming to the morphology of poliovirus. Now in the morphology, what things we need to see? We need to see size, shape, genome, presence or absence of envelope, and capsid, right? So the size of poliovirus is around 20 to 30 nanometers. So the size of poliovirus is 20 to 30 nanometers, and shape is spherical in shape. So the shape is spherical, and the genome, it contains single-stranded RNA. So RNA is the genome of poliovirus, and symmetry, it is icosahedral in symmetry. So the nuclear capsid is in icosahedral, and shape is spherical, as I said, and it does not have envelope. That means it is a non-enveloped virus. And how many capsomers does the virus has? Poliovirus will have 60 capsomers. Poliovirus has 60 capsomers. And is there any special proteins to the poliovirus? Yes, we have viral specific proteins for poliovirus. So those proteins are called viral protein 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 4 viral specific proteins. There VP1, VP2, VP3, and VP4. So this is the morphology of a poliovirus. So size is around 20 to 30 nanometers. Shape is spherical. Genome is single-stranded RNA. Symmetry is icosahedral. Shape is spherical, which we already discussed. Then envelope, it does not have envelope. It is a naked virus. And capsomers are 60 capsomers. 60 capsomers present in the virus. Then it has 4 viral proteins. And it is because of these viral proteins, the virus is infectious. The virus will destroy the spinal cord because of presence of these 4 viral proteins. That means either we need to develop drugs for destroying these viral proteins, or we can use these viral proteins as a vaccine candidates. So that is why understanding viral specific proteins is important. So by targeting these proteins, we can able to destroy the virus, or we can able to prepare vaccines out of this virus. So this is the morphology of a typical poliovirus. Not only poliovirus, all picornaviridae viruses will have same morphology. All, even rhinovirus will have same morphology. Rhinovirus also will have same 20 to 30 nanometer size. Its genome will be single-stranded RNA. So all the viruses present in this particular picornaviridae will have same characteristic features. Keep in mind. Okay, so this is the basic morphology of a poliovirus. I hope the morphology is clear for everyone. Okay. After morphology,
Yes, sir.
after, so we discussed about introduction to polio, then we discussed classification of polio, then we discussed morphology of polio. Then we need to discuss the susceptibility and resistance of polio. So let us see where does the polio is resistant and where does the polio is susceptible. Uh, by the pathogen, by the classification itself, we understood this virus may be resistant to acidic environment, because we saw that this virus is spreading through contaminated food. Whenever we are eating any food, food will directly go to the stomach. In the stomach, we will have acids, but virus is not destroyed by the virus by the acids in the stomach. That means it seems this virus is resistant to acidic pH or low pH. So virus is resistant to acidic pH, and also let us see the resistance of this virus now. So resistance. So this virus is resistant to ether, chloroform, bile, and proteolytic enzymes. Do you know why? What is the reason for this ether, chloroform? Because they are organic solvents. That means they have alcohol, and alcohol can able to destroy envelopes. Alcohol will destroy envelope. Is our poliovirus has envelope?
No, sir.
So it does not have envelope. That means this virus is resistant to alcohol. That means you can, even if you're sanitizing your hands, you cannot get rid of this poliovirus infection. You cannot kill poliovirus with a hand sanitizer. Usually we will say whenever we are eating food, we should clean our hands, but that won't work out for poliovirus, because this poliovirus is a non-enveloped virus. And there is one more thing, students, general statement. All icosahedron, naked icosahedron viruses are tough to kill since they don't have any envelopes and they have a very rigid icosahedron nucleocapsid.
Sir,
These viruses are tough to kill. Yes, sir.
excuse me, sir.
Yes, Indrajit.
So what we apply on our hand to remove this virus, sir? Even this is
Okay, yeah, correct. What we can apply to kill these viruses? Okay, so that's a
yes.
good question. It's really challenging. We have very limited resources to get rid of this virus. Yeah. So yes, comparatively, virus is highly resistant. So no matter whatever you are doing, still there is a chance of having these viruses. Okay. There is no answer for that, Indrajit. We can't do anything. We cannot completely sterilize our hands. Maybe we can autoclave our hands, but our hands will become
Yes, sir. Yeah.
meat. So we cannot autoclave our hands and we cannot get rid of these naked viruses. So we cannot kill it actually.
So, sir, there is no any sanitizer to remove this virus.
No, there's no sanitizer, even Dettol. Dettol, they will say they will kill 99% germs, but it won't kill poliovirus. That 1% is poliovirus. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Then coming to the resistance. So virus is also resist at 20 degrees centigrade. It will survive for years. And at 4 degrees centigrade, it can survive for months. Okay. Then how we can kill this virus? Maybe we can kill this virus by using chlorine. Chlorinated water will kill the virus. So this will be the option. So you can use chlorinated water for killing viruses, especially the polio viruses. That is why we will do this chlorination to our drinking water. So by adding chlorine to the drinking water, we can able to kill the icosahedral viruses. These capsid viruses can be killed by chlorine. So chlorine will be our choice as a. We can use chlorine as a sterilizer. We cannot say sterilizing agent. Comparatively, we can use chlorine for destroying the viral particles in the water. Okay. And virus is resistant in fecal material. Virus can survive in the feces. Virus can survive in the dry environment. So this is the resistance and susceptibility of virus. Okay. So, okay, we have given few more examples here. Formaldehyde and oxidizing agents can destroy poliovirus. Okay, so formaldehyde, Indrajit, your answer is here. You can use formaldehyde
sir,
and
sir.
oxidizing disinfectants to destroy virus. But to my knowledge, we cannot apply formaldehyde on a living tissues. Formaldehyde is highly irritating agent. I think we cannot safely apply these on living tissues, Indrajit. I'm not sure whether there are safe sterilizing agents or not. Okay. So anyway, so that's a good question. So this is all about the resistance and susceptibility of poliovirus. And next is, so first we discussed introduction, then we discussed classification, then we discussed morphology, then we discussed about susceptibility and resistance. It seems we can able to destroy the virus by using oxidizing agents or by using formaldehyde we can destroy, or by using chlorine we can destroy the poliovirus. Whereas poliovirus is resistant to acidic environment. అన్న వెళ్తున్నావా వెళ్తున్నా ఊరు
Excuse me, sir.
సరే ఇప్పుడు no. Okay, then
Sir,
culture.
formaldehyde is gas, na?
Formaldehyde is a gas means no, formalin is a gas. Formalin will be okay, formaldehyde is a gas that we will
Yes,
dissolve
sir.
in the water, then it will become formalin. But still formalin we cannot apply on the living tissues.
Yes, sir.
It is
Formaldehyde
highly,
is,
yeah,
causes breathing
it's a
problems.
gas. Exactly, it's a gas, and if it is dissolved in water, then it will become formalin. Anyway, that is toxic for the living tissues. We can use this formaldehyde for tissue processing because it will cause it will fix the proteins. It will cause cross links in the proteins if it is a dead tissue, but that should not happen in a living tissue. So it's not safe to apply. Anyway, so next is cultivation of poliovirus. So in the cultivation, as we said, in the cultivation, we should see animal inoculation, embryonated egg, and cell culture. In the cell culture, we have primary, secondary, and immortal cell cultures. So what type of cell cultures we can use, that we can see in the cultivation. So following cell cultures can be used for poliovirus. So either we can use primary monkey kidney tissue lines, or we can also use some immortal cell lines. We have few cell lines such as Vero cell cultures, HeLa cell lines, or we can use Hep2 cell lines for cultivating the poliovirus. We can use Vero, HeLa, or Hep2 cell lines. Then poliovirus will show cytopathic effect. So the cytopathic effect produced by poliovirus is characterized by cellular disorganization consisting of separation, swelling, and increased refractivity of. Okay, simply hypertrophy of cell will be seen in the poliovirus. So if the tissues get infected by poliovirus, means the cells will become hypertrophy. That means cells will swell. So swelling of cells is a cytopathic effect that is seen in the poliovirus infection. So swelling of cells is a characteristic feature, or it is a cytopathic effect in poliovirus infection. This I haven't discussed in the cytopathic effects, but there are many others also. Okay, I have only discussed about syncytial formation, cellular necrosis, clumping of cells, or rounding of cells. So here we can say swelling of cells happens in poliovirus infection. That is the cytopathic effect of poliovirus infection. Then pathogenesis. Pathogenesis we can continue tomorrow, students. Okay. So tomorrow we can continue the rest of the lecture. So this is enough for today's lecture. A quick revision of today's lecture. So today we started discussing about unit 4. In the unit 4 we have poliovirus. So poliovirus will cause poliomyelitis. That means inflammation to the spinal cord of the patients, causing lower limb paralysis in the infected patients. Usually this poliovirus will infect the children. Children are highly susceptible to poliovirus infection, and it will cause permanent paralysis to the children. Then the classification, poliovirus belongs to the Picornaviridae family. In the Picornaviridae, we have 5 genuses. We have Entero, Paraeco, Hepato, and cardioviruses. Our poliovirus is an enterovirus. In the enterovirus, we have 4 classes, enterovirus A, B, C, and D. Our poliovirus belongs to the enterovirus C, human enterovirus C, to the enterovirus genus, to the family Picornaviridae. Then morphology. So virus size is 30 nanometers, shape is spherical, genome is single stranded RNA, symmetry is icosahedral, envelope is absent, capsomers are 60, and viral specific proteins are VP1, 2, 3, and 4. Then resistant, virus is resistant to ether or organic solvents since it is non-enveloped virus, and it is also resistant to 20 degrees centigrade, and virus is susceptible to formaldehyde, oxidizing agents, and chlorine can able to kill the viruses. And this virus can be cultivated in primary monkey kidney cell lines, or we can also use Vero, HeLa, and Hep2 cell lines for the growth of these viruses.
Sir, what
And
is
this
Vero,
virus,
HeLa, sir?
Vero means they are the cell lines taken from, I think it is pancreas. So HeLa we have taken from cervical cancer tumor. So from cervical region, we got this HeLa cell lines. Similarly, Vero cell lines are the cancer of a pancreas. So from pancreatic cancer cells, we have harvested these cells. Okay. So those are pancreatic cells, and Hep2 are obviously liver cancer cells. So these are various cell lines taken from all these are cancer cell lines. Okay, from various organs. For example, HeLa from cervical cancer, Vera from pancreas, Hep2 is from liver. So like this, we have many cell lines, but usually most commonly used continuous cell line is HeLa cell lines. Globally, HeLa cell lines are very cheap also. We will get for 1,000 rupees, we will get a nice cell line. HeLa cell line we will get. Even in normal laboratories, we can obtain HeLa cell lines. They're very good at replicating. So thanks to Henrietta Lacks. So even though she died, she has given us the power of, she's alive in all the labs globally in one way or other way. Anyway, so this is the cell lines. So in the next lecture, I will discuss about pathogenesis. It will be really interesting. Pathogenesis I will discuss later. Okay. So thank you very much, students. If you have any doubts, you can discuss with me. Is virology understanding? Is there anything, any suggestions in this subject? Do I need to change anything?
Excuse me,
Alright.
sir.
Yes. Simon?
Sir, can polio be spread from person to person?
Absolutely, it can spread through infected patient. Yeah, it can spread. See, it will spread, but we need to know how it will spread. Either it is airborne spread, or either it is a contaminated spread, or it is a sexual spread. So that we will know in the pathogenesis. Okay, for example, HIV. HIV will spread, but how? Through sexual contact or through blood-to-blood contact. So that doesn't mean HIV is an infectious disease. So by taking certain protocols, even infectious disease can be contained. We can able to prevent spreading of even infectious disease if we break the chain of infection. I hope you know the chain of infection: reservoir, portal of entry, portal of exit, transmission vectors. So by breaking the chain of infection, we can prevent the spread of infection in the community. Obviously, polio is spreading infection. That is why it became a epidemic. It affected millions of people. Millions of people suffered this lower limb paralysis because of polio. Then we got many heroes in polio actually. So globally, 200 million people got infected by polio. Then we got two scientists. So one is by the name of Sals and other one is by the name of Sabin. So they discovered very good vaccines to prevent this polio virus infection. All you need to do is you need to take 2 drops of this vaccine and you will get immunized for forever, for your lifetime. You won't get polio infection after taking this vaccine. So how the vaccine works? So we have killed polio vaccine and we have oral polio vaccine or live attenuated polio vaccine. How the vaccine will work, that I will discuss in the upcoming lecture. Okay. So just to, yeah.
So
Yes.
So why there is not a vaccine for the adults of polio?
We need not to, all of us, I guess even in your country, polio has been taken and polio is enough during first 3 years of growth. So first 3 years, we need to take 3 doses of polio. Then we will have immunity forever. So we need not to take vaccine when we are adults. So the first 3 vaccines will be enough for lifelong immunity. Very powerful and safest vaccines of polio. Believe it or not, today there is not even single polio case in entire globe. So Earth became polio-free planet. So thanks to the vaccinologists, thanks to Jonas Salks and Sabin for doing this polio vaccine. Actually, India has successfully eradicated polio. Uh, I think still there are few cases in certain parts of the Africa, but globally the polio has been eradicated. I think in the 2012, 2014 World Health Organization given this statement that polio was almost eradicated from planet Earth. There are few regions, I think some Muslim countries, some I don't know the names, but some of the Muslim countries also have few active cases. When I say active cases, only 20 or 30. Only 20 to 30 active polio cases are there globally. That's it. So vaccines has been very good at eradicating viral infections. So yeah, vaccines are the primary source of eradicating any diseases. And thankfully, we got vaccines for COVID also. So that's a good sign. So we have a tremendous knowledge on containing these viruses. So that I will discuss in the next lecture. Okay, Simon. So I hope you are enjoying this lecture. So that's why you're getting many questions. So that is appreciable. So thank you very much, students. We can continue in the next week.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, as you say, we will kill the polio virus by the help of chloride or chlorine, right? Chloride or chlorine?
Chlorine.
Yes, sir, chlorine. So my question is, how to kill polio virus and where we can apply to kill the virus?
How to kill polio virus?
Yes, sir. As you said, we can use to kill the virus of by the help of chlorine, right?
Yeah. See, chlorine has some problem. If you take a heavy amount of chlorine orally, it is a toxin. So you cannot take chlorine as a syrup or tonic to cure a polio infected patient. But chlorine can be used in open waters. So a very little amount of chlorine is enough to, if we dissolve this chlorine in a large amount of water, that can kill the virus. But if we want to treat a virus, if it is inside the body, I'm speaking biologically, then
Yes, sir.
you should target the viral proteins, because this chlorine can also destroy our own cells. The problem with treating viruses is viruses will present inside the cell of our body. So whatever drugs we are giving, these drugs will be target our own cell first. So we need to ensure that these drugs are not causing any damage to our own cells. So we cannot use chlorine as a drug for curing poliovirus if it is inside the body. Okay, for that purpose, we need to go with um, some drugs that will destroy the replication of RNA or DNA of the virus. So yeah, so we can use chlorine to destroy virus if it is present in the water, but not in the body.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
simple.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You
Clear.
can kill virus if you can use chlorine to kill virus in the water, but not in body. Simple.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Any more? So you are thinking that by drinking chlorinated water, you can treat the patients. No, that's not possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, that's not possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm. That can prevent further spread of virus in the community, but that cannot treat the patients. For treating, we should approach other ideas. Can I end this session? Any more doubts?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, students. We'll see you next week.